pump up, and air out. Let's run it back with the 1990 Reebok TZ, aka Twilight Zone. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already, why don't you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share with your friends, and how about you hit that like button down below. Now today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm talking about a shoe brand that I never really talk about. I'm usually a Nike Air Jordan guy, but today I'm talking about the Reebok Twilight Zone, aka the Reebok TZ. Originally made in 1990. Now to start it off with a quick little history on the Reebok pump system, it was originally released in 1989 and was created by the name of Paul Litchfield. He thought that a bladder that you could fill up inside the tongue and that would come around your heel would help lock down your foot during physical activity. The first pump was released in 1988 and then to the public in 1989. The first pump released had a dial on the side where you can adjust the amount of air pressure in your shoe. But today we're talking about the Reebok Pump Twilight Zone. Back in the early 90s, Reebok was really slowing down in their footwear department, and they needed something to bring them back into the mainstream. And the Reebok Pump was the one thing that was keeping them alive for so long. I truly believe if this Reebok Pump was never invented, Reebok would have died a long time ago. Even though it's kind of gimmicky, but back in the 90s, it was probably the coolest thing that anyone has ever seen. Everybody wanted a pair of Reebok pumps. Let it be weightlifters. Back in the day, the women's aerobics were very popular, and the Reebok pump system and all these Reebok footwear for women's aerobics was huge. And it moved on to the basketball, and it moved on to other shoes in the sports. But in 1990, the Air Twilight Zone was released and was sponsored by no other than the athlete named Dominique Wilkins, the Human Highlight film. One of the greatest basketball players of all time, and had the most craziest dunks you'd ever see. And who else would be better to sponsor a product that you're trying to go against Michael Jordan than his arch rival in the slam dunk competition, Dominique Wilkins. Originally, the Twilight Zone was released in 1990, and it came with a cushioning system called the ERS cushioning, which was energy return system. So when you landed, it would absorb the energy from your foot, and as you exploded upward towards the basket, it would return the energy back to make you jump higher or seem to jump higher. There's a few original colorways that released in the 90s of the Twilight Zone. The white gray one that you see here in my hand is my favorite colorway from 1990. That is why it's the only colorway that I've got, or that I have, or that I want. It also came in the cherry colorway that is releasing quite soon, and also it came in the lime colorway that is probably everybody's favorite. Now, as you notice on the retros, it is missing that ERS system, which is very disappointing to all the Reebok heads out there. But in my opinion, the ERS system, yes, I would prefer it to be on the shoe, but it really doesn't take away from the aesthetics of the footwear. What I do like about the new retro, for this version anyways, it's the only one that came with the vintage look where it's got the yellowed midsole, kind of like the reimagined Air Jordan 3. Yes, the midsole is different from the original Twilight Zone, where they took the tooling from the Omni Zone 2, worn by D. Brown. But the only difference is, yes, it's missing the ERS system, so you're missing that square in the back that's showing that, and the ERS. It also, which I give an A+ to Reebok, is the leather. The leather quality on this should be on all Jordan brand shoes. Full grain leather on the toe box, which is where you want real leather to be so it can crease nicely. On the back, it's got your synthetic materials, but that is fine. But in the places that it's supposed to be, it has beautiful cuts of leather. As you can see here, very nice cuts of real leather on the toe box. The shape of the Twilight Zone Retro is perfect. You see that streamlined toe, a very well-designed shoe. And if you didn't know, the Reebok Pump Twilight Zone, the actual shoe itself, was designed by a woman. At the moment, I can't remember her name. For the life of me, I can't remember her name. But she has a repertoire of amazing shoes that she designed for Reebok, as you could see with this one. It does come with Hexalite as your cushioning system in place of the ERS system. Very disappointed in this, as this is crappy, fake Hexalite cushioning. Where on the original Hexalite cushioning, it was more like an airbag that was like a honeycomb. But this is, if you could see, you could see kind of a honeycomb, but it is just a hard plastic. So it loses the cushion system. But all in all, the cushion inside the shoe is very well done, and it's a very comfortable shoe. As you can see, it's a super high top. There was no rival at the time to this 1990 pump version. There was an 89 air pressure. Nobody really went towards the Nike pump system until the 1991 Command Force pump, sponsored by David Robinson, which is a well-known pump as it got famous from the movie White Man Can't Jump and Billy Hoyle. Now, what's very disappointing on this 2023 retro is the actual thing that you're trying to sell here, which is the original pump system. So on the original 1990 version, when you pumped up the pump, it would fill a bladder in the tongue. So it would also fill a bladder surrounding your heel. That would keep you locked down during your basketball play. And it is completely missing from this shoe. The pump system itself here, you have to at least pump this pump up, I'm going to say 30 times before you feel any kind of change in the cushioning around your top of your foot. That is very disappointing in the pump. It does give the nostalgic effect of the pump sound as you release the air. Yes, that's cool. Yes, we like that. We would really like an actual pump system that works. If it didn't do the back heel, that is fine, but the pump should pump up the tongue within 10 pumps, not 30. So that's very disappointing. But all in all, a great retro. I'm only getting this colorway, and the only colorway that I was looking forward to is this white gray one, as this is the only one I've ever wanted as a kid. I remember seeing one of my buddies have this pair as a kid, and I remember there was a commercial that had this pair on display in the commercial, and I was like, wow, that's a great looking shoe. At that time, I was a big Jordan Nike guy, so I never got into the Reeboks in the early 90s when I was 10, 11. So I never had an actual Reebok till I was later on when I got older with my first pair of Omnizone pumps worn by D. Brown. And let's keep it up and let's see some more retros in the future. Well, I hope you enjoyed my quick video today on the Reebok Pump TZ, aka Twilight Zone. Us original kids from the 90s always will call these the Twilight Zone. They are missing a few little hints from the 90s, the Twilight Zone, but all in all, a great retro. Don't forget that I have an Instagram page, and you can follow it at my name at 4C23. And don't forget to leave a comment below if you like what I'm doing here. And until next time, pump it up.